Hello, my name is Robert Bearden, but you can call me Robbie. Today I chose to do my project on DC's 11th Street Bridge Park, and the organization is called Building Bridges Across the River. It's the organization that was organized to create this project. As I did my Universal Design field trip on a park and its inclusiveness, I wanted to focus on parks and sort of stay in those sort of public spaces. So what is the 11th Street Bridge Park? Well, they took an old highway bridge that needed repair and they're going to revitalize it into a park that spans across a river. The intention is to make it a public space that promotes physical health and cultural events, providing space for both of those, mental health in the terms of being able to get outside, being in a green space, also physical health as there's different avenues for physical activity. And the cultural events, there's art spaces, there's gardens, there's places for musical events, all that kind of stuff is included. It's also supposed to be a bridge between two different neighborhoods of two different socioeconomic and racial makeups within the Washington, D.C. area. One is the Capitol Hill area, which is a little of a higher social economic status, and then the Anacostia area, which has a higher poverty rate. The goals of the project, the website outlined three main areas that they focused on as their goals. First of all was affordable housing, making sure that this project didn't negatively impact that and making sure that it was included. Small business involvement and support, workforce development and creating jobs. Obviously, with any park, health and wellness, and green spaces and exercise spaces, all of that. And then promoting arts and culture and providing a space for that were the goals of the project. So the issue that they were addressing, well, the physical issue was an old bridge that needed repurposing, but the greater issues were the divide between two communities that don't always understand each other or come together, and this desire to just take a literal bridge and turn it into a figurative bridge and a space where people who wouldn't normally be in the same area can come to the same area and interact with each other and get to know each other. They also were addressing the issue of the tendency towards gentrification and also of not having enough spaces that cross cultures and allow cultures to celebrate together. So the individuals that were involved in this project, that's the director there in the picture to the right. His name is Scott Krantz. He has a history of working mostly in California before he came to DC, and he worked in different projects like this. The team of directors and staff that they brought on were culturally representative on purpose of the area they were serving. There's a lot of African American women involved, but there's also a diverse group of people. The construction workers, a lot of the people building were brought from the community. I'm going to talk about a little more in another slide, but the construction training graduates were east of the river residents, that's Anacostia area, and it was also helping them to develop for inclusion in the workforce through the construction process. Now, the community was also heavily involved in the planning and implementation of a lot of these programs. So as they took steps towards public implementation, a lot of public forums were held, a lot of public input was taken in, as well as business input. There were forums held for the businesses and just to get a feel for their needs as well. This led to a lot of local investment of time and money, but also reinvestment, and just it allowed the organization to understand where they could reinvest in the community with their project. Their focus was not just on building a physical park, although that was the main goal, but it was also on creating jobs, maintaining affordable housing, and bridging cultural gaps. So besides just planting grass on a bridge, they were also trying to implement all these other inclusive ideas into the project. The challenges they faced, maintaining community involvement and community support is always a challenge in a project like this. The financial backing, they had to get creative with that. And then also the challenges of gentrification, displacing people from houses. Anytime you build a project like this, it's easy to just tear down certain housing and replace it with unaffordable housing. And there was a very deliberate effort made in this project not to do that. So the project, in simple terms, was a green space with cultural and artistic spaces, also farm plots, community areas for gathering. It was meant to be a bridge between two worlds. They talked about that a lot in the literature about it. They wanted it to be not just a physical bridge, but that figurative bridge between two different communities. The project was based on a very community-led process. The community input, of course, as they were developing the project and getting ideas, but also it was very volunteer-driven. That a lot of volunteers from the community, a lot of interaction from the community at different stages along the way. And again, a focus against gentrification was pertinent to this project as they worked to redevelop certain areas around the project. The outcomes, I'll just pick a couple of interesting ones. $102,915. $102,915,000 of products and services purchased from Black-owned small businesses in the area. So a lot of money going back into the community. I love that 994 construction training graduates from East of the River residents. Those are people that were brought in to help build the project, but also in the process of doing that, given the job skills to go out and get jobs and seek employment. 520 people were placed in those construction jobs. They also made the Skyline Workforce Center where non-construction jobs, people were placed in those as well. They placed 618 people there as well. 116,000 food distribution programs that are being served by the farm plots they've been able to put in, and 27,000 pounds of produce distributed through that program. Just amazing what they're able to do with that as well. So a lot of, and as you can see, there's more information there too. A lot of great outcomes from this project that benefited the community beyond just the park. The continued progress. The park is still being worked on. It's not complete yet, but parts of it are up and running. The community continues to be engaged. The local businesses and organizations still support it. I was on the website looking around. There's even a local musician that's created a theme song for the park. So everybody's involved in a number of different creative ways. A lot of public volunteers involved in the community services and events. A lot of community events that take place in the park. Also, they've created a playbook on their website that you can get access to if you're trying to make a similar project and see some of the insights into how they were able to get the community so involved and how to create such an inclusive project to a variety of different cultures. As for the connections to my class resources, I found, first of all, that it connected to the 39 types of diversity in the workplace, just in the sense that it reinforced that not every instance of diversity or the need for inclusiveness involves physical barriers. Obviously, those are very important, but there's also a lot of cultural and socioeconomic barriers that need to be considered as well when we're talking about inclusion. I found it interesting how it connected to UDL and the learning brain. There was a big part in there about how goals are important to brain health and how involvement in sharing goals and how that's healthy for people, and just thinking about how well this project created shared goals for this community, for two different communities, and just how great that was for the community. I thought about the use of locals struggling to get work in construction and how that related to just making sure that people that are otherwise overlooked by certain organizations, maybe like construction, are able to be involved, and we look outside of the box and outside of our preconceptions and involve people in these processes. And then I thought about chapter 13 from the book by Robbins, by the Wood F book from our textbook, and how about the inaccurate maps and rewiring and rewriting those maps, and how this project is a great example of taking something like a park, something physical like a park, and using it as a way to help people rewire those preconceptions by bringing them together in this common space and getting to know each other and see each other and interact with each other, and how that can create a sense of understanding around inclusion. Thank you for listening. I have the reference here at the bottom of the screen. It's that's the website for Building Bridges, the DC organization, the one that was working on the 11th Street Bridge. So all the information I got, and several of the pictures I got, or all the pictures I got, excuse me, are credited to this site. So thanks for listening, and thanks for joining me for my project.